The crazy scheme of the Congress party to redistribute wealth had gone unnoticed till the Prime Minister raised it once and then again and now repeatedly in election rallies. Redistribution of wealth. This is not some Robin Hood scheme. It is extreme and impractical socialism. For the Congress party believes in a utopian world where the redistribution of wealth, the redistribution of income, and the redistribution of assets among all citizens of the country brings all citizens of the country at the exact same economic level. This is practically impossible because wealth creation and asset creation is the fundamental center of human activity. How will the Congress party redistribute assets, wealth, and income? Do they even know? Will they take away the hard-earned property that people have? Will they snatch the assets that families own? Or will they force you to give up the gold that you save for, hoping it'll help you on a rainy day? If they're going to take away everything as a matter of right, and if everything you earn will be redistributed anyway, then ask yourself, why should you earn it in the first place? Why should you work so hard for it? Why should you work so hard for it if the Congress party will force you to give it up? Also, relevant to ask, how much will you redistribute? How will you redistribute it? Will you redistribute apartments? Will you redistribute farms? Will you redistribute cars? Will you redistribute all the physical assets that anyone owns? Ladies and gentlemen, I began by saying that this Congress idea is crazy. I correct myself, it's not crazy. It's not crazy. It's positively dangerous. Debate number 1 tonight. Weeks after the Congress party promised to hold financial and economic surveys after a caste survey voted to power, the Prime Minister warns that the Congress party will distribute your wealth. Is this an appeasement attempt by the Vadra Congress? Debate number 2 this evening at 10 p.m. I'll be speaking to the BJP's increasing high-profile and increasingly controversial candidate Madhavi Lata from Hyderabad, who was in a fix over the arrow gesture and was charged and who took on Owaisi at a poll booth. That's at 10 p.m. tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, following that, the big controversy across Karnataka, statewide protests in Karnataka over the Neha murder shocker, the BJP giving it a love jihad angle. Is the Congress party downplaying this case? That's at 10:15 p.m. So it's a very hot show. And here are the headlines this Monday evening on the Debate Tonight.
कांग्रेस और इंडी गठबंधन की नजर आपकी कमाई पर है, आपकी संपत्ति पर। कांग्रेस अपना पंजा मारना चाहती है।
The Prime Minister takes on the opposition once again on this issue, says the Congress party's wealth redistribution plan is dangerous. Uproar after the Prime Minister's wealth redistribution remark. The Congress calls it a bid to divert attention. As statewide protests in Karnataka as India demands justice for Neha Hiremat. Politics over the Neha murder case. The BJP claims the Congress government in Karnataka is downplaying the case. Gokesh Scripps history becomes the youngest to win the FID candidates chess tournament, qualifies for the finals. And Venkaiah Naidu, Mithun Chakrabarti, Usha Uthop, Ram Naik confirmed the highest Padma awards by the President. Ladies and gentlemen, in election time, the headlines are getting hotter. The Prime Minister's remarks on the redistribution of wealth during a poll speech in Rajasthan have sparked a huge row. The Congress says The BJP says the Congress wants to redistribute people's gold and valuables and land and hand it over to infiltrators, among others. The Congress responds by saying this is an attempt at diverting attention. Let's debate.
जब उनकी सरकार थी उन्होंने कहा था कि देश की संपत्ति पर पहला अधिकार मुसलमानों का है। ये कांग्रेस का मैनिफेस्टो कह रहा है।
Prime Minister Modi has triggered a political backlash over property redistribution remark.
जब उनकी सरकार थी उन्होंने कहा था कि देश की संपत्ति पर पहला अधिकार मुसलमानों का है। क्या आपकी मेहनत की कमाई का पैसा घुसपैठियों को दिया जाएगा और उनको बांटेंगे, जिनको मनमोहन सिंह जी की सरकार ने कहा था कि संपत्ति पर पहला अधिकार मुसलमानों का है। भाइयों बहनों, ये अर्बन नक्सल की सोच, मेरी माताओं बहनों, ये आपका मंगलसूत्र भी बचने नहीं देंगे।
This comes weeks after Rahul Gandhi promised to hold financial and economic surveys after a caste survey if voted to power.
हम फाइनेंशियल और इंस्टीट्यूशनल सर्वे करेंगे, ये पता लगाएंगे कि हिंदुस्तान का धन किसके हाथों में है, कौन से वर्ग के हाथ में है। और इस ऐतिहासिक कदम के बाद हम क्रांतिकारी काम शुरू करेंगे। जो आपका हक बनता है वो हम आपके लिए आपको देने का काम करेंगे।
Calling Congress's proposed wealth survey worrisome, he doubled down appeasement charge on the grand old party.
कांग्रेस के शहजादे का कहना है कि उनकी सरकार आई तो कौन कितना कमाता है, किसके पास कितना धन है कि जांच कराएंगे। ये जो संपत्ति है सरकार अपने कब्जे में लेकर उसको सबको बांट देगी। ये मैनिफेस्टो उनका कह रहा है।
Fortifying Prime Minister's claim, the BJP posted a 22-second video of Manmohan Singh's speech from 2006.
We need to be revitalized. We will have to devise innovative plans to ensure that minorities, particularly the Muslim minority, are empowered to share equitably in the fruits of development. They must have the first claim on our resources.
The India Alliance has called out Prime Minister Modi for hate speech.
किसी भी प्रधानमंत्री से, कोई पार्टी का प्रधानमंत्री हो, उससे देश कभी अपेक्षा नहीं करेगा कि आप जो है प्रधानमंत्री हैं, तो प्रधानमंत्री ना कोई एक पार्टी का होता है, ना एक जाति का होता है, ना एक वर्ग का होता है। प्रधानमंत्री देश का होता है, और जब देश का प्रधानमंत्री होता है तो बातें भी उनको उस लेवल की करनी चाहिए, मेरा मानना ये है।
तो देखिए, हम तो यही कहते हैं कि मुद्दे की बात करें। प्रधानमंत्री जी हाथ जोड़ करके अपील करते हैं कि नफरत की राजनीति छोड़े, मुद्दे की बात करें।
Is wealth survey another appeasement attempt by Congress? Let's debate.
Now, this, especially after the Prime Minister has raised it, there are many people who are getting concerned about what exactly the Congress party means by referring to possible redistribution of wealth or assets or income or gold. There are articles being written on it. The Prime Minister has raised it. I welcome into the debate this evening Nalin Kohli of the BJP, Kishore Subramaniam, a right-leaning economist and analyst. Kapil Madan backs the Congress party. Lokesh Jindal backs the Congress party. I want to start by asking Dr. Santosh Mehrotra, well-known economist. Dr. Mehrotra, redistribution of wealth or assets and the promise that there will be, after the Congress party comes to power, a detailed caste census, a survey of wealth, and after that, there will be a possible redistribution of wealth, more or less to bring everyone on a median line. Is this practical? And has this been truly thought out?
I found your entire introduction very amusing. I'll tell you why it was so amusing. Because it is interesting that the socio-economic caste census was already done in this country between 2011 and 2014. And this government, the current government, is actually using it to identify who is poor and who is likely to be a beneficiary of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. This government is using it to identify the poor who will be entitled to the Ayushman Bharat free treatment in private hospitals, etc., etc. This is something not new. Point one. And there is no mention whatsoever about redistribution. So do not read your own prior ideas into the document, and kindly do not put words into the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's mouth, and I will read to you what exactly he had said, because you very conveniently misquoted, or you quoted a very partial statement. What is this statement? I'll read out to you very fast. Our collective priorities are clear: agriculture, irrigation, water resources, health, education, critical investment in rural infrastructure, and the essential public investment needs of general infrastructure, along with programs for the upliftment of SCs, STs, other OBCs, minorities, and women and children. The component plans of SCs and STs will need to be revitalized. We will have to devise innovative plans to ensure this is the only bit that you quoted very cleverly, to ensure that minorities, particularly the Muslim minorities, are empowered to share equitably in the fruits of development. They must have the first claim on resources. When they say they have the first claim, they're talking about SCs, OBCs.
Can you repeat that last part? First claim on
Excuse me,
resources.
I am not going to repeat it. I'm not going to waste your and everybody else's time. I think the point is made. You deliberately took out, and BJP has been deliberately, and the PM deliberately, consciously took out a very small part of a much broader statement. Professor Manmohan Singh, Dr. Manmohan Singh, is a much more large-hearted man. He doesn't need to be as narrow-minded as the BJP or the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister's
May I come in for a minute, Arnab?
statement has come precisely at a time when there was low voter turnout in the BJP-ruled states. It's amusing. I go back to my amusing point and I will stop, that BJP ruled, and Nitish Kumar himself has carried out a caste survey. And he is your chief minister now. Your party is supporting him. No one is saying anything about the caste census. Your own government is using the caste census. I can only be amused at the kind of build-up that you have done at the beginning of this show.
Right. Thank you for that. I'll let Nalin Kohli respond to you.
Respond?
However, before Nalin Kohli comes in, we cannot put anything in parentheses or brackets or in lower fonts. And what I would put in a larger font, underlined and in bold, would be that Dr. Manmohan Singh said that minorities, especially Muslims, should have the first right on the nation's resources.
He did not say that.
That is a terrible thing to say. That is a terrible thing to say, for which he has been rightly castigated.
He did not say that. So
now,
do not lie.
now, Dr.
I'm not going
Manot,
to allow you to lie.
He said exactly that. He said exactly that. He said that, and he said that in the context, but he said that. Now, he has said that, and I didn't put the words in his mouth. Now, Dr. Mehrotra, Nalin Kohli wants to respond. The point being made on the other side is that this is not exactly what the Congress party has said in its manifesto. It is said that the Congress party has said that there will be a caste census, and it is said that it has been reported that Rahul Gandhi has said that after institutional and caste and economic census, there will be very strong attempts made to sort of redistribute India's wealth. But they are saying they did not say that in as many words, and there is a bit of fear-mongering that is being done by the Prime Minister and the BJP on this. Nalin.
It's not amusing. In fact, this entire thing of the Congress party is anything but amusing. And I think we need to break it down point by point for your viewers to understand. First, either the Congress party has a terrible drafting team, or Mr. Rahul Gandhi is back to what he always does. He comes out with a statement and it leads to people coming up there to explain this is not what he meant. Even when it is in black and white, what is redistribution of wealth? I mean, even somebody who is been an average student all his life, forget about being an economist, will understand redistribution of wealth in terms of adjusting inequities is what the socialists, communists and other governments over the world have done and have been since discarded. Discarded by even the Congress party, which under the great Dr. Manmohan Singh brought in liberalization in 1991. So having moved away from there, you come now to a position where some fancy person gives a fancy idea and Mr. Rahul Gandhi, in his fancifulness, goes ahead and puts this in the manifesto because first he came up with Nyay, now he comes up with redistribution of wealth, and I'm unable to understand how is Nyay or justice done by creating injustice for another class of people. Whether it's on religious lines by saying Muslims will have the first right, or whether on economic lines by saying someone who has slogged all their life, built a single home, someone who has saved all their life, now everything will be taken because the Congress party is desperate for votes. It's as simple as that. And I'd wish to ask another detailed question. Is this word sovereign, socialist, democratic Republic of India, the Constitution's preamble, two words were added by Mrs. Indira Gandhi during emergency, socialist and secular. So perhaps we need to sit down and talk about this bluntly. India didn't require to have the word secular in its constitution right up to the emergency. This was, is, will be a secular country. But this 76, when the secular word is imported, it has led to what is called pseudo-secularism, which the BJP has fought tooth and nail. And this is pseudo-secularism, where you say Article 14 of the Constitution must be junked. Indian citizens must be treated unequally, which is what the Congress party is talking about. Prime Minister Modi's government does not deliver schemes to the poorest of the poor by saying who's Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Parsi, Jew. It sees this is a targeted beneficiary. This lady deserves a toilet. This person requires an urban home, a rural home. This person or family requires a tap connection. This family requires Ayushman Bharat. It doesn't matter whether this person or family is Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Parsi, Jew. Because that is exactly what Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas is. But the Congress says, no, no. What we are talking about, and which is what Dr. Manmohan Singh said, great leader, Prime Minister, but he said so in clear words. Muslims will have the first right. So what about tribals? What about Dalits? What about OBCs? What about SCs? MBCs? These are communities
now
that
they're
are
trying to pull back a bit.
How can you say that on a religious line, we will divide the country?
Allow me.
This is not done. Our constitution doesn't permit it.
Now what's
and
happening
this is
is
anything but amusing. And if the Prime Minister is raising it and the Congress party gets defensive about it, you can't run it off by saying it's amusing. If it's amusing, then go and basically, then you are reducing Rahul Gandhi's.
It could well be. One
Amendment Act and criticize.
No, it could well be. No, 1 minute. No, 1 minute. Nalin, give me a moment before you come in. Lokesh, I just want to tell everyone tonight, do we want to give the benefit of doubt to this young man called Rahul Gandhi? Because very often he gets it wrong, he has a problem in communicating, and then, he goes with the superficialities as usual without understanding the more concrete points, and ends up being a terrible embarrassment to people in his own party who end up apologizing and explaining on his behalf. Now, what is said here, Lokesh, what is said here is that what is being spoken about is this jitni abadi utni haq kind of argument, right? An alleged attempt to redistribute wealth according to your share in the population, right? Is that fair? To which an argument being put here is you cannot incentivize poverty, you have to incentivize personal growth and wealth creation, because without that, our system will come to a standstill. So I think it's important, therefore, Lokesh, for the Congress party to clarify, because first of all, you've got yourself in a flap with this 8,000 rupee internship scheme, which you're calling apprenticeship, and then you got yourself into a flap about this extreme socialism. We'll redistribute wealth. There are too many middle class, upper middle class and rich people, and we are going to redistribute wealth among everyone and create a utopian society. So, and then Rahul Gandhi goes and says something even more extreme in an election rally. What is this how is this going to happen? I mean, if people own homes, will they be redistributed? If people own apartments, right, or cars, will you say that someone who has a scooter should take a car and snatch it from someone else? If there are a lot of people, very few people living in a large house, will you re-accommodate people according to the physical space that the Congress party feels every individual needs?
Arnab, as per the directive principle of the state policy, Article 38 of the Constitution directs the state to strive towards attainment of a welfare state model. It directs the state to minimize income inequalities, wealth inequalities. It aims at promoting justice, social, economic, and political. Sir, even prior to 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, this clause, Article 38, formed the very concept of welfare state in our Constitution. I don't understand why are you linking it to only one instance. And secondly, when you're talking about the nature of development that we are witnessing right now, in 1962, we had 1% of India's riches controlling 22% of the overall resources, which has now increased to 40%.
Now, what will you do to them? Will you punish people for doing well in life? Will you punish people for doing well, getting good jobs, getting good qualifications? Will you punish people for doing well? What is your intention?
No.
Explain what you mean by affirmative action. No. I have my suspicions. Suppose, 1 minute, Lokesh, give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Give me a moment. I have to ask you this. See, I want to live in a certain world. Lokesh, I'm a simple guy. I want some stability in my life. I want to have some certainty in my life. If I take a loan, I want to know at what percentage I'm taking a loan, at what percentage I'm paying an EMI. Can I prepay the loan? I want certainty in my life. I want the country to do well, and I want myself to do well. Now, just pause a minute. In a Congress-run world, what you're saying to me, the moment Congress will come to power or the Congress will lead a coalition government, you'll carry out this really tough socio-economic and caste census, and then you'll get the data of caste, subcaste, jati, janjati, and socio-economic conditions based on a fundamental premise of caste. You will bring everything down to caste. And then having brought everything down to caste, you will then come up with some very, very unpredictable model for affirmative action, which means you will look at Kishore Subramaniam and say, this is the caste that he belongs to, this is the money that he has, this is his net wealth, and we'll come up with some algorithm on the basis of which, if Kishore Subramaniam, being from a specific caste, has a certain amount of income and wealth, then he is to be penalized for doing well in life.
No, Arnab, you've got the entire thing wrong.
You will take caste everywhere, including into...
Arnab, let me come in here. When we are talking about
then why should Kishore Subramaniam work at all? Why should he not live on Manrega?
Caste over here becomes a social institution meant for identification of those who are marginalized. And
you can't do everything. You can't bring everything down to caste. This is 2024. Viksit Bharat. You're bringing everything down to a fundamental line of... This is incredible. Viewers, I don't think so. I mean, this is... No, I mean, you are living in a different world from me, Lokesh. Please don't do this. Please don't do this. Come on.
Let me come in here. Nothing will happen to you. If at all the lower section of society mobilize themselves, get enough resources, realize the social mobility, nothing is going to go wrong with you. The idea is the state is required to act
first thing I'll demand. No, 1 minute. I'll ask you one thing. First thing I will demand is that all of us, being honest taxpayers, will demand that, to set an example, Sonia Gandhi should move out of the house that I fund. 10 Janpat out of my taxes, she should redistribute the land she lives on. She does not need to live in such a large mansion, paid for by the taxpayer. Whatever her security requirements, practice what you preach. Before you tell Kishore Subramaniam to give up his hard-earned wealth, Kishore, it's getting to be an uncertain world, you know,
so
with what the Congress is talking about. Very, very threatening.
The opposition will give me enough time to speak and listen to my point. Extend me that courtesy. Point number one: if there is anything that needs to be redistributed
Yes,
to the Congress party, it is intelligence. Let us redistribute intelligence first, because then we'll have parity to talk on same terms. Point number one. First of all, we need to understand that Congress, after 4 decades of its ruling, had bought with these same stupid policies India to naught. We came to a situation where we had to pledge our gold. We were bankrupt by 1991. Let's not forget. Giving a chance to Congress again. Look at the narrative. They want to take us back to the same point. And let me also counter one very, very important point. When the other gentleman said that Dr. Manmohan Singh, our ex-Prime Minister, did not mention Muslims, let me quote verbatim. He said, particularly Muslims, and I read here, they must have the first claim on the resources, the Muslim minority, ensure that minorities, particularly Muslims, and particularly is a word to be noted here. No, it is not a generic statement. The third point we need to understand.
That was Santosh Mehrotra you're responding to.
How is the Congress going to do that? This is no way you can have a financial survey.
I don't know, ask them.
Let me ask you a tricky question here. Let us assume you find a rich man who is from a minority. What would you do? You would give it to the majority. You would give it to the other caste. So this is the most ridiculous thing that Congress can ever define. And let me understand, once you know you are not going to come to power, you are not going to win, you can actually do anything. I can also say that, okay, tomorrow morning I will start a channel and Republic, being a richer channel, should pay me. These are stupid logics. Let us not get into this debate. Arnab, I think the fundamental flaw with Congress is they do not know what narrative to place. Once their leader places a wrong narrative, the entire bogie and the coterie wants to justify that. As Mr. Nalin Kohli said, what about the tribals? What about the OBCs? What about so many other groups in the country? Let us not talk. Economics and Congress are oxymoron. They have no idea of how to run economics.
Sir, tell me one thing. What is the public outlay for education? What is the percentage of outlay for skill development? What is the percentage outlay for health sector? What is the outlay?
What has that got to do with redistribution of wealth?
Nothing.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. What is the Gini coefficient of America?
About economics? Sir, when you're talking about human development, have we increased on the human development front or have we faltered down?
It is the highest in the world.
With respect to gross enrollment ratio, with respect to health expectancy ratio, with respect to all these parameters, we are sliding down. On what basis you are talking about human development and capacity building?
No, the presumption here.
Let me teach you some economics.
Presumption here.
Let me teach you some economics. When there is no economist theoretician can
if you
ever
are not aware of this, you can run the bullshit narrative saying that
resource allocation is going to be beneficial for economy. It is the greatest threat in the economy whenever there is a concentration of wealth in the hands of few, because it distorts the entire consumption pattern. The entire aggregate demand and the consumption pattern gets
I think you are. I mean, let's look at it.
Macroeconomic distortions happening.
One minute.
Do you know what is the saving rate?
I don't know. This will turn this kind of an extreme measure, and what is happening is Kapil. I'll bring Kapil and then I'll open it up. What is happening is, Kapil, there is a growing element of suspicion among the people about the extreme left line that the Congress party has started taking. Extreme left, almost a pro-Maoist kind of approach.
Which has made the world over.
The fundamental premise is yeah. And if you are saying redistribute wealth, in India, a lot of people, Kapil, for example, middle class, lower middle class, invest in gold, small amounts of gold. They keep it away for a rainy day. Okay. Now, suppose there is someone who's not from the scheduled caste, not from the OBC, but a middle class man or woman who has invested and kept away at the end of 20, 30 years of savings a substantial amount of gold for their future generations or for themselves. under the Congress party plan, that individual will be told to give up that gold and redistribute it, presumably, among people from scheduled castes or OBCs, regardless of how hard the person has worked over years and decades to save that gold. And this is the kind of logic that is being put by people like Siddharamaiah, who says taxing the rich for the poor is good economics. But do the rich or even the upper middle class not contribute, the salaried class, the greatest amount of taxes for our country? Are they not extremely compliant? Will you punish them now for being compliant? Are they paying less tax?
Can I now respond?
Do they need to be taxed more? You want tax rates to go up to 70%? Like you want reservations to go up to 80%? Maybe you want taxes to go up to 70%
I
for
think
certain
I've
categories.
been patiently, hearing everyone.
No, I'm done at this point because this is getting to be a very scary and draconian scenario.
Now, Arnab, let me say it, very clearly. It is when you think from an empty mind, you have, this kind of a narration and a conclusion, which is, beyond absurd, from all measures. When they say there would be a socio-economic survey and, there would be a distribution of income, they don't mean that they will take income from you, assets from you, and they will give them to some other people. So when any politician make this kind of a statement, what he's trying to...
Where is that clarification?
So may I, Mr. Kohli, I didn't
Where is that clarification?
Then clarify.
Mr. Kohli, I know you're being exposed, so please be patient. Let me expose you fully and then you can respond. Let me expose you fully and then you respond. I'll expose both of you.
No, Kishore, let it be between Kapil and Nalin.
Not absurd. I think
let it be between Kapil and Nalin.
All measure, thinking only an empty thinking mind can draw this kind of a conclusion, wherein you say that a person makes a statement that there would be a socio-economic survey. That would mean that someone will come to your house, will take away your assets, you will take away gold, and they will give it to some other people who are more needy, more poor. I mean, this is absurd.
Then say so. That's a wrong statement.
Let me, Mr. Kohli, please be patient. Please be patient. You're being exposed. I know that, but please be patient. You will get your turn. Now, my second point is, when the government forms any kind of scheme, there is Ayush Bharat, which government talks about. What is the qualification and criteria for Ayush Bharat?
Ayushman Bharat.
There is, yes, Ayushman Bharat. Correct. Thank you for correcting.
Ayushman Bharat.
Mr. Kohli, please also tell your viewers what is the criteria to get that benefit scheme. How is one eligible? You please explain. I can bet you will not know, and I can assure you that you don't know the eligibility. You don't know the eligibility. It is on the basis of the income that you declare, and there is a threshold. How do you come to that? Any policy made by the government is based on parameters. There are certain eligibility criteria. They say that they are giving 80 crores people free ration. How do they calculate? It is only 80 crore people will need ration, not 90 crore people. What is the eligibility criteria? There must be some parameters on the basis of which a policy is formed and a decision is taken, which is for the benefit of people who need government subsidy.
Please explain to me, Kapil, you are getting confused. Kapil, I got a simple question here. As long as what you are doing, one second. Kapil, highly confusing. Highly confusing. One minute, highly confusing. I'll be Nalin with Dr. Santosh Mehrotra. Let's go for some one versus ones tonight. I couldn't care less as long as it doesn't affect most people, right? But what I will not allow is this attempted demonization of corporate India, these shallow comments that some people are earning a lot, some companies are earning a lot, some people are earning less. This is reality world over. Always it has happened, it will happen.
They're earning out of their hard work.
We all know how many people from these corporate families were put in the Rajya Sabha by the Congress
Somebody
party.
works hard.
We
what
know,
is Mr. Rahul Gandhi's profession? What has he worked and earned?
We know how much...
Has he ever done a job 9 to 5? Has he stood in court from morning to night as any one of us, or a doctor or an engineer or someone? What has Mr. Rahul Gandhi done that he sits down here and becomes a great economist to say redistribute wealth? And then say I will distribute it to a certain community or religion first. And then this is called about exposing me. What is this about? Where is the clarification of the Congress party? Please tell me. Where is the clarification said, no, we are not going to snatch the money from somebody who's affluent and give it to the poor, like the socialists used to do, like the communists used to do, and which has been discarded by those very countries. Where is that clarification? Are you going to say that old people who have money in
Mr.
their
Kohli,
FDs and getting 8% or 9% living off that interest, you will take it out of the bank accounts and give it? Where is the clarification of the Congress party saying we will not do it? Have you said it? A man who works from IIT, slogs through his life through IIM, becomes a CEO of a company, then earns money after 30 years of hard work. You're going to take that money away from him and distribute it. Why? Why? Because Mr. Rahul Gandhi, has he ever worked? Tell me his job that he has done. Even his father was a pilot. His father knew he had to get up in the morning. His father knew he had to sit in a flight. His father knew that he would get a salary at the end of the month. How can you run down the whole professional world? How can you run down the business world, the corporate world? And how can you tell the poor of India that you are not fit enough to receive something that Prime Minister Modi's government does? We will give it to another community based on religion. And then you say that you are exposing us. How dare you say you are exposing us? When these double standards are there and you don't have a cogent answer to say clearly, no, we did not say so. We do not mean this.
Yeah, Mr. Kohli, I can see you're very worked up about it, but we got a very sharp issue to deal with out here. And Mr. Mehrotra, Dr. Mehrotra has been smiling throughout what you said. But I'm concerned because I think what Dr. Mehrotra, Nalin Kohli and most people will want for is a clarification. Many people say, of course, you're getting too worked up about it. Congress is not going to win the election. But at the end of the day, we have to look at every word that they have promised, which they have said. Now, it is my contention, Dr. Mehrotra, that the Congress party cannot leave these issues in generalizations. They are linking a caste census to a potential redistribution of wealth and going on and saying that they will immediately address this inequality of wealth and income through suitable changes in policies. As a voter, I want to know what are these suitable changes in policies. I want certainty in my life. We all want certainty in our lives. You also want certainty in your life. We can't be put at risk. We don't know what these policies are. After all, Dr. Mehrotra, India is now rising through wealth creation, through unicorns. People are making money. They're enjoying making money. They're taking risks. Their entrepreneurship is a climate. There's a risk appetite that is growing. And these things can be bugbears in that process. So why bring in these issues at all and not let things go the way they are going? And also your response to Nalin Kohli's concerns. Dr. Mehrotra.
Very simple, Mr. Goswami. Very, very simple. I was in the Planning Commission when the socio-economic caste census was designed. I was actually a member of the drafting committee for the design of the socio-economic caste census. And the caste census, all it does is to exclude people who will not receive the rations. It excludes people who will not be entitled to a Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. It excludes people who will not be entitled to a Ayushman Bharat, etc., etc. Why is this government for the last 10 years been using the same SECC? And all that the Congress manifesto, as far as I can make out, is saying is that they will repeat an SECC because an SECC was done 10 years ago and it was done precisely with the objective of identifying those who will be eligible and those who will be automatically excluded. It's very straightforward. Maybe someone can answer in this show for me and explain to me if the government of India is so opposed to a SECC, why is it still using the same SECC? It is using it for doing precisely what I'm talking about, for precisely identifying the beneficiaries. So I don't see where the talk about redistribution comes in. There is no talk about redistribution in the Congress manifesto. This is all complete humbug. This is
suitable changes in policies, page 21, page 29, para 21. What are the suitable changes in policies which are being thought about?
No, they are not being thought
what are the
about.
suitable changes in policies
that wrote the manifesto,
which are being spoken about? We want a clarification on that.
You're very dismissive of the apprenticeship scheme. I want to tell you now that I didn't tell you in the last show that I appeared, I'm behind that apprenticeship scheme because it is a scheme that can work. It has shown to work in Germany, in Switzerland, and we already have a 1961 Apprenticeship Act, sir. It is not meant for the children of Mr. Arnab Goswami or Mr. Nalin Goswami.
Yeah, but let me tell you why I disagree with it. Let me tell you why I disagree with it.
Yeah, you may disagree, but it doesn't matter. That's not the subject.
Can I tell you why I disagree with it?
Talked about by anyone.
Because it's below the minimum wage. Because it's below the minimum wage.
Excuse me, sir.
And I'm sure you know that India's corporates can pay more than 8,000 rupees a month to a qualified person.
You have not understood. That means you haven't read the program. It is a apprenticeship means that it is not supposed to be a wage. Do you see the difference between a wage and a stipend? So, it is supposed to be a stipend. The Apprenticeship Act of 1961 talks about a stipend.
No, but why not offer jobs? Sir. Why not offer entry-level jobs instead of 8,000 rupee apprenticeships?
Please do that. Why is the open unemployment rate 44% for 20 to 24-year-olds currently? Please tell me that. Please give me an answer for that. If you had an answer for that, then you would also think about proper schemes like the apprenticeship. In fact, I have heard from insiders from within the party, the BJP, that they have actually bought into the idea if they came back to power. You may not buy the idea.
Who told you that?
May I come in for a minute, Mr. Goswami?
Who told you that, sir? Can you name your source?
I'm not going to reveal that. Obviously, it means you should know that you shouldn't be asking such questions on a show, a national show.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying here. I'm just saying here that obviously we have different worldviews. I'll get Nalin to respond to you. I'm not in a debate with you. But all I will say to you, sir, today we must also say this demonization that is happening. TCS has paid 14,600 crores of taxes. Reliance has paid 20,700 crores of taxes. Axis Bank has paid 7,700 crores of taxes. Unicorns and startups are at the core of this country's economic ecosystem right now. And it is all based on wealth creation. Now you tell me, sir, does a startup founder from a so-called upper caste have less right over his hard-earned wealth than a startup founder from a scheduled caste or an OBC? I'm saying there are some areas of life where caste should not be brought in.
This is your presumption. You're putting words into the mouth of the Congress manifesto people. This is your presumption.
May I come in?
This is not anywhere written anywhere in the manifesto. You may fly with whatever you want to fly. We know what you're trying to do. You're trying to sort of appease the bhakt and motivate them and rile them up.
No, I'm clearly asking here what is you need to. No, I'm saying you may say, okay, I played a role. I don't need to explain to you. All I'm saying is you have to explain. You can't leave a half sentence. You can't say suitable changes in policy in some way will redistribute wealth. There has to be more specificity than that.
You are making a claim. There's no talk about redistribution.
I'm not making a claim. It's in the manifesto.
There is no talk about redistribution of wealth.
We will address the growing inequality of wealth and income through suitable changes in policies preceded by the reference to a nationwide socio-economic and caste census. And then based on this data, we will strengthen the agenda for affirmative action. And then followed by addressing the growing inequality through suitable changes in policy.
I've understood. Let me explain. There's something called that the economy grows and you enable the relatively poorer off to have a higher share. That's called inclusive growth. It doesn't mean that existing wealth has to be transferred.
Okay.
We are already an extremely unequal country. We have become one of the most unequal countries in terms of wealth as well as income.
Responding.
In the last 10 years.
Responding to you. Nalin is responding. Nalin.
I heard Dr. Mehrotra very carefully. In the first part of what Dr. Mehrotra was very kindly sharing information for all of us and the viewers, is that you, based on the caste census, he was saying that this is about targeting those who deserve, like Ayushman Bharat or homes or whatever. But that's exactly what Prime Minister Modi's government is doing, giving the benefits to beneficiaries who deserve, without saying that the beneficiary has to be a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Parsi or a Buddhist Jew. The Congress party takes this to the level, which I think is violative of Article 14, by saying, no, we'll make it special for the Muslims. Why not special then for the Dalits or the SCs or the STs? Or rather, why not special for all poor? 1 minute, let me finish my point, Dr. Mehrotra. Don't get agitated. So why not say it as specifically as that? We stand to ensure that the poor receive welfare measures from the government, because the government must do what it can as a welfare state, which is what Prime Minister Modi's government is doing, which is what Congress governments before that tried to do. But obviously something was not working. That's why they are rejected out. Now the next point. Dr. Mehrotra says, this is not what is meant. But he's not the one who's written the manifesto. Who should give a clarification that Mr. Goswami, you are wrong. Nalin Kohli is wrong, X is wrong, Y is wrong. Close. We do not plan to take the money of a professional, a wealthy man, a hard-working doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, an anchor, anyone, a professor. We will not take their money and give it to the poor. Has the Congress party come out? Redistribution of wealth, as an average Indian, any one of us can understand, is take money from Peter to pay Paul. So therefore, the Congress party would do well to come out and say, no, all of you are wrong. We are not doing this. What we refer to is giving schemes to the poor people, as our government's doing or Prime Minister Modi's government is doing. So, I mean, have they said so? They haven't said so. Now let's come to the next. Then we go ahead and have then, at this point, approximately, Dr. Mehrotra got agitated and then went into a debate with you. So be it. He's entitled to. But then Dr. Mehrotra would do well, and that's my suggestion, he can reject it, by saying the Congress party should clarify that redistribution of wealth does not mean taking money from X and giving it to Y. It means what I'm saying, which is what Dr. Mehrotra says, having served in the government, having been in the planning commission,
maybe a clarification is in order. That's all. A clarification will not hurt. At least at a time when people are going to the vote, I think a clarification is not too much to ask for. We had a good debate, ladies and gentlemen. I thank everyone. Pretty volatile one there. And on the other side, we have Madhavi Lata. Now, she's the person taking on Owaisi, very, very controversial, high profile. BJP candidate has an FIR against her and is making the headlines every second day. Madhavi Lata on one-on-one in an election exclusive when I'm back.